Okay, welcome guys. Today we are going to be learning on quadratic equations, and we will explore one of the most used methods of solving a quadratic equation, and the method is called completing the square method. As an introduction, a quadratic equation is an equation of the form ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0, where a, b, and c are constants and x is the variable. Roots to such an equation can be obtained by use of either factor method. You can use factor method to solve a quadratic equation. Use of the quadratic formula, you can also use that method to solve a quadratic equation. By graphical methods or by completing the square method. In this slide today, or in this video, we are going to be solving the quadratic equations by completing the square method. So we'll take an example and maybe we'll go through this example and see how we are able to solve a quadratic equation by completing the square method. The first step is to ensure the coefficient of x squared is 1. That is the number before x squared, make it become 1. The only way you can do that is by dividing all through by that number that is there. So we divide all through by by 2. That is the number before x squared. Ensure the coefficient of x squared is 1. So we can make sure this number is 1 by dividing all through by 2. So we divide here by 2, divide here by 2, divide here by 2, divide here by 2. So that becomes x squared plus 3x minus, 3 over 2x minus 5 over 2 should be equal to 0. That is how you make sure that the number, the coefficient, we talk about the coefficient, we are referring to the number before x squared, the coefficient of x squared, the number before x squared, make it 1. And how we have made it 1 is by dividing all through by the number before x squared. The second step is to take the term without the variable, that is the constant term. Take the term without the variable to the right hand side of the equation. So we shall take this number here to the right hand side. In this case here, we are going to observe the plus minus rule. So when the negative crosses the equal signs, it becomes a positive. So in that case, we are going to have x squared plus 3 over 2x. These terms have x, so we don't take them to the other side. This one here is what we call the constant term. Take it to the other side. So we are going to have 5 over 2. The third step is to complete the square. How do you complete the square? You add the square of half the coefficient of x, the number before x. You half it, you square that number, and you add it on both sides. Check what I'm going to be doing here. So this one I write as it is, x squared plus 3 over 2x plus this number here that is right before x. This number here is what we call the coefficient of x. That number there is what I'm going to be taking, and it's good that you take it together with the sign. So plus, I'll use a different pen. So plus, this is half of it. So it's half times 3 over 2, and this value here is supposed to be squared. So you're taking half the coefficient, that is the number before x. That number there, you take half of it, half the coefficient, and you square that number and you add it on both sides of the equation. So this is going to be equal to 5 divided by 2 plus the same number, because we don't want to change anything, plus half the coefficient. Remember the coefficient of x squared, the coefficient of x was 3 over 2, so the coefficient of that are squared. So that is that step. Maybe you can simplify this one further and have it as x squared plus 3 over 2x plus the whole of this number here in brackets. This is just 3 over 4, and this is supposed to be squared. Of course, there's a positive here because this value here was a positive. Remember, this sign was positive, and that's why I'm putting a positive sign there. This one is positive, so I'm putting a positive sign. If it was negative, then I'll put here a negative. Now that it's positive, I'm putting a positive sign there. So plus 3 over 4 squared should be equal to 5 over 2. Of course, this one simplified will bring me to 3 over 4 again squared. Maybe I can use a different pen just for clarity purposes. Of course, for 3 over 4, that is squared. Of course, that simplified will bring me to my next line that I can now drop this middle part. You can drop this middle part here. You drop that middle part there so that you can have the square part. This is square, this is square. So you take, this will be x plus this number now here. Of course, this sign is what I'm putting here, the positive sign. So if it was negative, you put here negative. So plus 3 over 4. This one is squared because this is squared, that's squared. We drop the middle part, should give me, this is 5 over 2 plus, you square that term, 9 divided by, so what we do, 16. First of all, get the square root. So x plus 3 over 4. When you get the square root on that side, it cancels with that. And you do the same thing even to the other side. You get the square root here. And once you get that square root, you remember the square root of a number is either plus or minus, and that the square root of 49 over 16 becomes 7 over 4. From there, you take this to the other side and get for the value of x. So x is equal to negative 3 over 4. We take this term here to that side, it becomes negative 3 over 4 plus or minus 7 over 4. So these two signs will generate for you two different values of x. So the first value of x you get, you will consider the positive direction, where you take negative 3 over 4 plus 7 over 4. That will take you to... Okay, so we shall take negative 3 over 4 plus 7 over 4. You consider the positive direction. Negative 3 over 4 plus 7 over 4 to give you the first value of x as x being equal to 1. Then for the second value of x, you will now consider the negative sign. So you take this part here, the way I'm doing to my blue pen, that part there, that is negative 3 over 4 minus 7 over 4. Negative 3 over 4 minus 7 over 4. That gives you the second answer of x as x being equal to negative 2.5. Negative 2.5. So basically those are the steps that you're supposed to consider while solving a quadratic equation by completing the square method. The first step, ensure the coefficient of x squared is 1, as we did up there. The second step, take the constant variable or the constant term to the other side. The third step, complete the square. This is what you do by completing the square. You just take this number here, you half it, you square it, and you add it on both sides. The third step is now to solve for x. That's the final step. Solve for x and have that. So students, that's how we solve a quadratic equation by completing the square method. That takes me to my last bit where I have the assignment. There are those questions there, 3 questions. You will practice them. They are practice questions. That's the first question, the second question, the third question. Ensure that you get those answers as solutions to your quadratic equation. Thank you.